everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. This is the tutorial for the Flight of Fancy mini album, a Country Craft Creations design team project. This is broken up into 2 videos. This is the first part. Look in the description for the link to the second part. We're going to get started first with making the mini album. For any information, look in the description box. All right, here we go. All right, to cover the album, you'll need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 8.5 by 9. Cover them with score tape sheets. I've covered one. I'll peel off the sheet. And I also have a piece of cardstock that measures 10.5 by 11. I'm going to use my spacers that I got from Country Craft Creations. And they're the 1-inch spacers, 1 inch on the top, 1 inch on the side. And I have the 10-inch side of the cardstock at the top, the 11-inch side at the side. This chipboard is 8.5 here and 9 inches this way. So I'm going to push it up against the spacer and put it down. And so now you have 1 inch all around cardstock for the cover. The chipboard for the cover. What I'm going to do is turn this upside down, and I have a brand new tonic bone folder. I just got this from a Country Craft Creations retreat. It is made of, what is it called? They don't call it Teflon. It is high durability material, non-destructive folding. So anyhow, I'm going to take it and rub my bone folder along the side of my chipboard. Now I am using the lay flat cover method. This was designed by Tamara from Country Craft Creations. This method, you cover the covers separately and the spine separately, and then I'll show you how to attach them. So now that I see where the edge of the chipboard is, I'm going to use my surface to fold and burnish, and I'll even burnish this 1 inch on the sides, and I'll go around all 4 sides. I'll pull that out and fold the top and the side. So now you can see there are squares on all 4 corners. So I'm simply going to take my scissors and cut those squares off. I just go around all 4 sides and cut right on the score line. To take that off. Alrighty. So easy schmeezy. I can discard those. Okay, now I'm going to take another pair of scissors, just scissors that have a longer blade. You can use what's comfortable. I'm going to fold this side in, take my scissors, put the top blade against the edge around the chipboard, and just snip a little bit. This will take off any overhang. So I'll do it this way. Now I need to do this side, so the best way to do it is turn it upside down and do the same thing. So my blade of my scissors is against the edge, and I'm just cutting off little slivers of my cardstock. And if I haven't mentioned before, this cardstock is artisan cardstock. It comes from Country Craft Creations. It is the artisan linen cardstock. It is 87 pounds, and it's a good weight for the covers, good weight for the pages, and everything else you need to do. All right, some people will use score tape. In this case, I am just going to use the glue, and the glue I'm using is the Designer Dries Clear glue from the Art Glitter Institute. We refer it as Art Glitter Glue because the company that makes it is the Art Glitter Company. It has no glitter in it. It can be used to add glitter, but its name is sort of a misnomer. So I've got that down. I like to run a bead against the edge. Helps loosen up the fiber in the cardstock, as well as giving some glue for the edge of the chipboard. So I'm running my bone folder against the edge, then I'll fold it down with my fingers and go right up against the edge and burnish real well. Now I'll do the short sides. Go up to the top, zigzag. Don't have to go crazy with the glue, but obviously you want enough to make it stick. I do see some excess glue, so I'll grab a piece of an old t-shirt and just clean that up. And I have one more side to add the glue to. Okay, and you can see when you push up against it, the glue seeps out. And then just take it and fold it down. And again, I'll just clean that off. And there is our first cover. So I'll go ahead and do the second cover, and then I'm showing you how to do the spine. So first of all, I have two different sizes of spines. There are options here. You can use, let me see, spine for 4 pages, spine for 2 pages. So you can choose whether you want 4 pages or 2 pages. And if you want 2 pages, the chipboard needs to be 2 inches by 8.5. If you want 4 pieces, because I don't need to cut that, you want chipboard that's 2.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to show you with the one for 4 pages, but again, you can mix and match and choose whichever you want. If you're going to cover the 2 pages, your cardstock is 5 inches by 10.5. If you're going to do 4 pages, your cardstock is 5.5 by 10.5. I'm going to once again, grab my scoreboard, and this time instead of using 1 inch on the side as the spacer, I'm going to use 1.5 inches. I need there to be a little more room on the side. So I've already put down my score tape sheet. And I'm going to put it on my cardstock. Again, I'm using that artisan linen cardstock. So I have 1 inch on the top and 1.5 inches on the sides. burnish this and go around the edge so I can find my chipboard. And then fold and burnish. And I'll fold and burnish the top and the bottom as well. So for here, I'm going to cut the rectangles out. Same way you did the squares. But because we have 1.5 inches on the side, obviously that's where you get a rectangle from. And same way I did, I will cut a little bit just so there's no overhang. All right, and I will clean this up. Now, we're not going to glue down the side pieces, but we will glue down the top and the bottom. If you want to make sure you don't see any of the chipboard, I never see it, but you can take a marker and just cover the end here. So you can see I just added a little bit there. Go ahead and add glue as normal. All right, then I'm going to take my bone folder and just go along the edge here. And I will add score tape. So I got a thicker score tape from Country Craft Creations because I want to make sure this sticks. So I'm going to put it down close to the edge, to the far edge. And I'll still add glue closer to the spine. I usually end up putting 2 pieces down of 3/8 of an inch. I want to make sure my cover is going to stay. All right, I'm going to cover the other cover and then I'll show you how to attach those together. All right, so with the score tape on the outside, you might call them the wings of our spine piece, I'm going to use my spacer. I'm going to put it, and it's hard for you to see, but here is the edge of where the chipboard is. I'm going to put my spacer about 1/8 of an inch over that edge. I want to add glue, but I don't want it to get too close. So I will go ahead and put a line of glue. So you see it's not that close to it. I'll add a little glue here and then peel off my score tape backing. And I'm going to grab my scoreboard just so I can line this up nice and neat. So I'm going to put this, so it just so happens this is right at the 4-inch mark. I'm going to put this just about the 4 1/8 mark. So there will be a little bit of space between the edge of the spine and the edge of the cover. I'm going to push it down and burnish. All right, and I'm going to do the same with this side. I'll peel off the score tape backing first. And again, take my spacer, put it about 1/8 of an inch, maybe more like 3/16. Oops. And add my bead of glue. It went a little far there. And fill in the area without the score tape. And I'm going to do my best to line this up at the edge. Again, about 1/8 of an inch away. So I will take my bone folder and burnish. All right, so now we have the cover. I do have a teeny little piece that's overlapping, and just so it doesn't bother me, I'm just going to take that little piece off. Okay. Oops. Now I have a piece that is 8.5 by 5.5 that I am going to put right on here to cover the spine and just make this a little bit stronger. Going to add score tape to the very center of this. Use my spacer here and tear that off. I don't have this score tape going to the very edge. I still have a little bit of room. And of course here it was just torn from before, and I will take that out. So what I'm going to do is put it down here, trying to center this. Add a little bit more glue. And I'll add glue to the spine here. And on the other side of the spine piece. Okay. I'm going to just add glue. I usually don't like to put glue on top of the score tape, but I wanted to make sure I got good coverage. So I'm going to line this up. So this is, again, 8.5, which is the same size as our spine piece. So I'm going to put it on and burnish. And I see that there's a lot of area without any tape, any glue, so I'm just going to add some underneath. and burnish. Oops. And then I'm going to take the blunt edge of the boom folder and just carefully, without pushing too hard, go into that crevice between the spine and the cover. Just go back and forth a couple of times. And there we go. So there is our covered book. That's how it looks on the edge. A nice, crisp, clean spine. All right, we're going to use this piece. It's 8 by 11 to make the hinge. And when I say it's 8, it's a smidgen under 8. It's really 7 and 15/16 by 11. I alternate or use both 8.5 by 11 and 12 by 12 to make this book. It just, sometimes there's less waste if you use an 8.5 by 11. I am going to score every 5/8 of an inch. And the best way to do this is just score. I'm going to start at 2 and count 5/8 of an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be, we start at 2 and we go to 8 and 7/8. So it's 2, 2 and 5/8, 3 and a quarter, 3 and 7/8, 4 and a half, 5 and 1/8, 5 and 3/4, 6 and 3/8, 7, 7 and 5/8, 8 and 1/4, 8 and 7/8. So what we have are 4 sets of hinges and then a gusset. So you have hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge, gusset. So I'm going to turn this upside down and I'm going to fold on the second score line from the bottom. So I've got the bumpy side facing up. So we'll fold here and burnish. And then I'm going to skip a score, and then fold. So every third score line, we'll go from there. Skip a score, fold. Skip a score, and fold. So now you see there are basically 4 little hills facing up. I'm going to take this, put my fingers at the top and fold this towards me and grab a hold of this and burnish it with my fingers and go back and forth. And I'll do the same with the next hill and the next one. I'm not using glue yet. And the next one. All right, now I'll push all these together, hold them all towards me, and with the edge of my blade, I'm going to burnish. And I'll fold away from me and burnish. All right, now we'll add the glue. So I'll start from this first one. I'll open this up, and I'm not going to go right close to the edge. I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch away and zigzag. Stop at 1/4 of an inch, and then I'll just run a bead of glue towards the top And then I will take that off. And then I'll squeeze this together. And there we go with our first hinge. So we'll do the same with the rest. Start about 1/2 inch, zigzag the glue, run a bead. And just so I don't get my mat dirty, I'm grabbing another one and I'll burn it. Do it again. Push. And one more. All right, now that I've got glue on them, I'm going to take my bone folder and just burnish, help distribute the glue. If you see any seeping out at the edge, make sure you clean it up right away. And I'll fold that away from me and burn it. All right. So now I will eyeball this and figure out where it's going to go. I'm going to center it. So there's about 1/4 inch top and bottom and 1/4 inch between where this hinge ends and the fold from the cover and spine crease begins. All right, I'm going to take a bead of glue and put it right in between that hinge. Oops. And then zigzag it. And then I'll hold it with the wings. There's not any glue on this wing. It's just where the hinge is. And we already know where it's going to fit. So we just place it down gently. Make sure it's even. And I'm looking also to make sure that this is even. And I'm just going to run my finger in the center here. I'll fold down this one hinge towards the center and burnish. Open that up, take the one on the other side, fold it towards the center, open that up, fold this hinge down, and fold this one down, and now I'll burnish with my bone folder. All right, then I will pull up this wing, add a little bit more glue down here, add glue, staying about 1/4 inch away from the edge, and burnish. And then I'll do the same with the other one. and burnish. I like to go from the top to the middle and from the bottom up to the top, just to try to keep any glue contained, just so it doesn't seep out. All right, and I'm going to just continue to burnish it a little bit. I'm not going to open the book until I know the glue has dried. I want to make sure that the area right next to the hinge is glued down, so I'll take my bone folder and go on both sides of the hinge. Okay, like I said, I'm going to let that dry before I move on. And the next step, I will open the book and crease between where the spine ends and the covers begin. Okay, to make the hinge and the book, if you're going to have just two signatures in it, you'll need a piece of chipboard that's 2 inches by 8.5. To cover it, you'll need a piece of cardstock that is 5 inches by 10.5. I'm using an 1.5-inch spacer. If you don't have a spacer, you can use a piece of chipboard that's 1.5 inches and a 1-inch spacer. You want 1.5 inches on the sides, 1 inch top and bottom. I already added some scored tape, peeled off some of it. I am enjoying this 1-inch score tape. It fills the gaps wonderfully. So I'm going to put that to the side and the top, push it down, and burnish. We're going to cover this. If you watched the other hinge, it's going to be the same thing. If you didn't, it's similar to how you cover the covers, but don't work ahead because there's a twist. I'll burnish there, burnish there. So on the covers, we had squares on the 4 corners. Here, obviously, because we have a 1.5, not a 1, we have rectangles. I'm using my X-Acto, well, whatever brand it is. I'm using my Gordon blade. It's not an X-Acto blade. And just cutting on the score lines to take off these 4 corners. And then I will grab my scissors and I'm going to cut off overhang. So you fold one side down of the cardstock, put your scissors against the chipboard, and just go up a little bit to pull off any overhang. I'll turn it upside down and do the same with this side. So we'll get all 8 sides of the flaps. Okay, there we go. All right, now don't work ahead, like I said. So the ones on the top and bottom, we're going to fold down, but don't fold down the ones on the sides. So I'll put glue next to the chipboard, burnish that, fold it down, and burnish some more. Clean up my glue, and do the same with the other one. Burnish, fold down. And then I'm just going to take it and with my bone folder, push down just so the flaps are facing down. The chipboard is facing down too. You don't see any chipboard showing. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors. We'll try to do this neat. We'll try. All right, so I'm going to take my 1-inch score tape, or you can just do a 1/4 inch or 3/8, whatever you have. but like I said, I'm just enjoying this size. And I'm going to put that down. And I'll put some here on this side. I go like this. Will that work? Close. All right, and I will just make sure that's adhered real well. All right, and then using my scoreboard, I'm going to take my cover and I'll put my hinge up to the side and the top. But before I adhere it, I'm going to take this and put it about 1/4 of an inch away. I can see it. You probably can't see it, but I can see it through this spacer because it's clear. Make a bead of glue 1/4 of an inch away from the edge where the edge where the chipboard is. And then I will just push this down here. I've got about 1/8 of an inch showing. There's some room. And then I'll push this and burnish. This is black because I'm using a scrap. I had made another one, made terrible mistakes. Rather than throw out my chipboard, I'm reusing it. It was an awful mistake. It made me upset. But put it away, went back the next day, and moved on. And I could reuse the chipboard. This is pretty thick though. But that's okay. It's still gonna work. All right, I want to make sure I get a straight adhesion. Okay, there we go. And just burnish that down. And then just to make sure it's not wobbly, I will take another piece of the cardstock. I'll take 1 inch of my score tape. I don't want it to go to the very bottom and top, just because I want to use my liquid glue as the main glue for this. Whoops, don't stick. Okay, has that ever happened here? This is called Undo. It's hard to find. Somebody gave me this one. Lighter fluid does the same thing. Oops. Okay, now I have to let this dry. So you know what? While I do that, I'm going to do the hinge because that needs to dry. Well, I've already done the hinge, but I'm going to redo the hinge so I can tell you all about it. So this is a piece of 9 inches by 7 15/16. I don't want it to be, oh no. Yeah, that's right. Because my pages are 8-inch pages. I don't want it to be quite 8 inches because it'll be easier if it's just a little smaller. So I cut it 7 15/16, so it's a little bit smaller than what my base pages will be. So as you can probably see, I've already scored, but I'm going to tell you what they are and we'll score it again. We're going to score at 3, 3 5/8, 4 1/4, 4 7/8, 5 1/2, 6 1/8. We have a set of hinges and then a gusset. Hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge. probably could have made the spine of the mini album even smaller, but we're going to go with this. All right, I'm turning this upside down. I'm going to fold in between the hinges, so I have one score line we'll ignore, fold here at the next one, and burnish, and then skip, skip, fold. So now I'm not going to use any glue. I'm just going to work the paper. I'm going to hold it at the top and my thumbs are in the paper. I'm going to pull it towards me from the top. And because I burnished that, we've got this mountain that's starting to pop up. And then I will continue holding and pull towards me, and we have another one. So I just hold it with my fingers. Then I pull everything together, push it down, and burnish. Push it away from me, hold it down, and burnish. Still no glue, but let's introduce some glue to this mix. Put away my undo. All right. If you used liquid adhesive and you had to undo it, that wouldn't it wouldn't work. The undo does not undo liquid glue. All right, I will add some glue to the channel and then some along the top. Turn it upside down and burnish it with my fingertips. And then I'll do the next one. Zigzag and run some along the top, which now will turn upside down is the bottom. Burnish with fingers, and then I'll take my bone folder, burnish first one way and then the other. All right, let's bring the book in. Everything should have dried. So I have my score tape there. I'm going to add glue. So when it comes to putting a book together, I trust this glue from the Art Glitter Institute more than I do score tape. So I'm using both. I don't mind score tape. I just think the glue, here's my theory. I think the glue wettens and opens up the fibers of the paper, and it mingles with the fibers of the paper and sort of becomes one. Like this. You know, the fibers from the paper, the fibers from the other paper will mingle. I don't know if that's true, but in my mind, that's what happens. If anyone's a chemist or something like that, I don't know who just studies those things. Tell me if I'm on the right track. So then I will take my paper, I'll add some glue to the bottom to make sure it sticks to the bottom. I'm right at the bottom edge. And I will just push down with my hand. Then I will grab my bone folder. Oh, haha. And burnish. I'll take the blunt edge and just go back and forth, I don't know, 20 times, 30 times, and just work the paper till I can fold the book. And same with that side. And fold the book. Isn't that beautiful? All right, now I'm going to dry fit this and see where it is. See, so here's my hinges, here's the sides, the channel, so you can see where the chipboard ends. See, I really could have made it half an inch less, but we are going to put in our waterfalls and some chunky pages, so I'm sticking with it. I will take some glue, go down the channel, go down here, zigzag. I use a lot of glue when it comes to putting the hinge on for reasons I already discussed. I want it to stick. Put bead of glue there, bead of glue there. I'm not going to the top because this is smaller than the book. All right. I'm going to go closer to the bottom than the top. I don't know. It doesn't have to be. And make sure I have the same amount from the hinge to the front cover. Hinge to the front cover. It looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. And same here. All right, it looks good. So I'm going to take my finger and burnish that. Then take my bone folder. Then I'll pull this one way and burnish. Pull this way and burnish. I will again go down this channel and make sure my hinge is gonna stick. And then I will just lift this, whatever isn't glued down, run a bead of glue and push that. We're gonna glue stuff on there, so that'll doubly make sure that sticks. If you're in a dry climate, if you have fans going, which you should turn off while you're doing this, you could take the tip off so you get more glue so you can work a little faster. All right. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to let that dry because if you see, if I pull it up when it's wet, this is not going to adhere. So I'm going to burnish it, let it dry, and then we're all set to put base pages in. So that is it. That is putting in 2 hinges or 2 pages in the book instead of the 4-page book that I've already shown you. All right, so what I like to do is make base pages and add things onto them. If you're going to make 4 pages, you'll need 8 pieces that are 8.5 by 8.5. If you're going to make 2 pages, just 4 pieces that are 8.5 by 8.5. So for all of these, you're going to put one side at the top and score at 1/2 inch. I'm going to just do 2 right now and show you how to put them together. We'll move this out of the way, but we'll get it back in a second. So fold and burnish on the score line. And I suppose if you wanted to, you could miter the corners. All right, I'm going to take one and turn it upside down so that tab is sticking up. I'm going to take another one and turn it so the tab is facing down. I'm using my scoreboard to keep things lined up. And over here, you could either add glue to the tab. I'm adding it to the paper. And then just simply making sure everything's lined up. I'll fold and burnish. So I do have the tab sticking to the outside. Give it a little. And the reason I do that is when you are inserting something into the pocket, if this tab is on the inside, it's not going to get in the way of whatever's there. So now I will turn this over so the tab is again to the left side of my scoreboard. And I will just zigzag some glue and fold and burnish. And there we go. So there's a tube. Now what we're going to do with these two is after I make the other pages, we're going to dry fit it first to make sure it's going to fit over the hinge. And it should. It looks like there's enough, but if you need to, you can take a scissors and just miter this hinge. I'm just taking off a slight amount of the hinge, and that will ensure that this tube fits on there. Now you don't have to go all the way to the bottom of the hinge when you're putting this down. I'll show you. Let me just get all these papers together, and then I'll show you how to put that together. Let's put the pages in the book. So it doesn't matter, but I'll try to keep all of the flaps or where it comes together up at the top. So again, I'll dry fit it, making sure it'll fit. I'm going to fold all of these flaps over, and I will add glue to the top 2/3. These are larger than average hinges. I usually make them 1/2 inch. I made them a little bit longer, 5/8 of an inch this time, just to support all the weight in all the pages. So I add glue to both sides of the hinge, put that on. So it's down to the bottom of where the hinge meets the spine. I'm going to back off, like pull it up just a little bit. I don't like it to go flush to the spine because then when you're turning the page, it does not always turn easy. I'll burnish. And then I also make sure it stays parallel to the bottom of the book so it's nice and straight. So that looks good. I'll burnish another time. I'll go back and burnish before it's all done. And again, I'll add glue to the top 2/3 or so. Of both sides of the hinge. And yes, I do start from the back. I figure by the time I get to the first one, I'll know what I'm doing. No, that's not true. I start to the back and then it doesn't matter. Then I make sure everything's lined up and even. I am about not quite 1/8 of an inch from where the spine it hits the gusset. More adhesive. And again, I've used this Designer Dries Clear adhesive from the Art Glitter Company for many years. And I like it because I know it stays really well. I got a little glue here. I want to take it off. So that's what I use. I use what I know works. It may work for you. It may not work for you. You use what works for you. Again, I'm lining this up to the bottom of the other pages. I'm a little more than 1/16 of an inch on the hinge. And then I will burnish. The glue will distribute, and that's how we put it in. And then I'll do the last page, and then our base pages are in the book. Just add the glue. And burnish. Okay, now we have the base pages in the book. All right, for both the front and back inside covers, I'm going to do a waterfall because I want to have room to put lots of photos. I may have a flap to cover it. I'm not sure yet. It It depends on what paper I have left, but I know I'm going to have a waterfall, so we're going to start with that. The waterfall sizes are going to be 4.5 by 6.5, so we can put 4.25 by 6.25 paper on and still have room for 4 by 6 photos. But if you're going to have it as a waterfall, you need to have an extra 1/2 inch. So we need, for the front waterfall, we need 7 pieces that are 5 by 6.5. For the back inside cover, I'll need 6 pieces that are 5 by 6.5. So I'm going to need 13 pieces that are 5 by 6.5. I want to show you the best way of getting it out of one piece of 12 by 12 paper. First thing we'll need to do is cut 1/2 inch off of the paper. I just double checked my cut because like no man's land on my paper trimmer. Okay, so I have 11.5 one side. Now let's do 11.5 this side. Okay, so I have a piece now that's 11.5 by 11.5. I'm going to cut 5 inches and I'm going up to 6.5. So I'm putting my ruler here. Now your paper trimmer might actually help you, and it might be on here and you know when to stop, but going up here, and I know it needs to be right at the center, and that's 6.5. Then I'm going to take this and rotate it so this top piece is going to become the left side, and I will put that at 5, and I'll go up to 6.5. And I'd rather cut less than more because I can always take my X-Acto and cut a little more. So here's the first piece. I'm going to rotate it again. So the part that was on the top is now going to go on the left side. And I'm going to go up 6.5. And one more time, I'll put that on the 5. I don't have to measure it this time. And so there we have 4 pieces that are 5 by 6.5 and a perfect square. So that is my little hint to do. So let's cut again. We'll need 13 of these that are 5 by 6.5. All right, so to make the waterfalls for the inside front cover and the inside back cover, you'll need one piece that's 6.5 by 8. Don't score that. One piece that's 6.5 by 7.5. Don't score that. And then 13 pieces that are 6.5 by 4.5. All of these we are going to score at 1/2 inch. I'm going to just simply score it up here because it's easier for me, especially when I'm doing the video, than showing you on the other side. So 4.5. Now, do not burnish these. Yes, burnish them. Do not miter the corners because with a waterfall, you don't want to miter the corners. Okay, and then for the inside front cover, we are going to take each one. We're going to take 7 of these and line them up. So I'll start with the first one, add my glue. Because I didn't have my pin in it. So I'll line this up to the left-hand side and the top and bottom, make sure it's even. and parallel. Then I will just continue through this one. I'm going to butt this up against the bottom of our last one. Making sure it's lined up against the top and the bottom. And continue on till you get all 7. This one is not lining up. I might have scored it wonky. I might have cut it wonky. But I want it even with the top and bottom, so I just adjusted it till it was even. Okay, and now we're going to take the 6.5 by 7.5 and start adding the pieces. Of course, you're going to put them on the side. That is 6.5. So we'll start and add them all across, same as we did the other one. All right, and there we go. So I'll just burnish a little more, and then we will put this aside because we are going to cut the rest of the paper for the pages, and this needs to be added on top of pattern paper. So there we go with the 2 waterfalls for the front inside. I guess this goes in the front inside cover. Now this one goes like that, and that goes like that. Front inside cover, back inside cover, so you can put landscape and portrait photos in your book. And so there's what, 25, 26 photos you can put on these pages. So that's a great start to getting a lot of photos in your book. Okay, we are going to do the front of page 1. So just to remind you, so it has this flap, and then it's got these 2 flaps. So it's not too difficult. So let me show you what you'll need. You'll need 3 pieces of cardstock and the base page. And then I label them 1F for the front of page 1. This is the 7.5 by 8. You will need a 5 by 8 and a 7 3/4 by 5. This is for when you're decorating. This is this large piece here. Now, if you're using a different paper, you might not use this to decorate, so just adjust accordingly. So I'll put that one aside for now. And on the one that is 7.5 by 8, I'll grab my scoreboard. And with the 7.5 side at the top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 3/4. There's going to be a little gusset on this page. 5 by 8 with the 5-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Turn it over this way just so the writing is right when I show you, but it doesn't matter. And then I have a 7 3/4 by 5 with the 5-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. All right, here's my base page. I have not put it into the album yet. Well, I'm going to fold and burnish on my score lines. This one has the 1/4 inch gusset. I'm going to go ahead and miter the corners, so I'll just come in up to that first score line. You don't want to miter up to the second score line. And we'll put this on first. This is going to go onto the left side of the base page. So I will just put that there. I want to make sure I get it right up to the side and make sure it's straight on the top and bottom so you have a good straight page. And I'll burnish and burnish inside to make sure it's adhered. Now I'll keep this open, and with the 5x8 I'm going to attach this to the bottom of the page. It's going to be about 1/4 inch from the sides. I didn't miter this. I guess I could have, but it's not. It's okay. All right, so this is going to be 1/4 inch from the sides, and line it up at the bottom, and making sure that's parallel there. Go ahead and burnish. And then I'm going to turn this upside down, or to the side actually, just to make it easier. And then the other piece, the 7 3/4 by 5, I will add that to the top. I'm just trying to attach the base page 1/4 inch from the left side. So this has a little bit more space on the right side. I just didn't want them to match up exactly. Open this up, and there we go. So that is that. Now, if you're using magnets, you can put a magnet here. Although I'll tell you on this page, it wasn't that critical. It just stays where it is. So that's the front of page 1. Okay, for the back of page 1, it's just this simple flap. I tended to have more of the interactive features, all of the full pages on the front of the page, and then I kept the back of the pages, not all, but most, pretty simple. And what I wanted to do was to utilize a lot of the Graphic 45 has the 4x6 elements. So I wanted to utilize that and allow you to have 4x6 photos as well. So this you would hear once you put the pattern paper down, but let's go ahead and get it ready. So for the back of page 1, here's the front, here's the back. It's going to go in our Hinge system through here. All right, so for the back of page 1, you just need 2 pieces of cardstock, one that's 5.5 by 6.5, and one that is 4 3/4 by 6.5. I did another version of this. I think it's the back of page 3, and I did it a little differently. So if you want, go ahead and check that out. With the 5.5 side at the top of the 5.5 by 6.5 piece, I'm going to score it 1 inch. This has sort of a large flap to fold. And then this piece simply will go under that. So then you can have your photo mats here and here. I put on pattern paper, and then I put on 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 white cardstock for the photo mat. You don't have to do that, and you could just put your pattern paper, I use the solid, and then put your photo on top if you're doing that. But I am going to take this and paper clip it and wait till I'm done with decorating it and then add it to the page. All right, I want to show you what the front of page 2 is going to be, and then we'll make it. It is so easy. I think it's the decorating that makes it look more fancy schmancy than it is. So this will open like that, and then this opens like that. And as well, you can open it like that. Whoops, sorry, go this way. Now, of course, we have our hidden photo mat, so the element of that pattern paper along with this makes it even more fabulous. So let me show you how we make it. For this one, you will need a piece of cardstock that is 11 by 8. And as I had said before, I use both the 8.5 by 11 and the 12 by 12 artisan cardstock. So this one, obviously, I would have used the 8.5 by 11 because there would have been less scrap paper left over. I'm referring to my directions, and that's 2F, front of page 2, with the 11-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch, 6.5, 10.5. And then we'll need a 4 by 8 piece of cardstock that we're going to attach here. So here's the 4 by 8. I haven't burnished this. I just found it a little easier to put down. And yes, you probably notice I have not mitered the corners. That's okay. All right, this will go here, just to the right side of the score line. You see, I need to trim that down a little bit, and I'll do that. All right. Burnish that. And then I'll go ahead and burnish on the fold lines. There's that. Trim this piece down. That 4 by 8 piece, I didn't do a good job of cutting it. So here is our base page. This is the front of page 2. We are simply going to add this to here. It's going to go right at the edge of the front of page 2, and it'll be like that. I have a magnet. I've got the flower here. I have a magnet right here on the flower, and then I have a magnet here as well. You may not want to do all of those magnets, but so I'll go ahead and glue that down. Making sure it's right at the edge and even with the top and bottom of the paper. Open it here. And there we go. That's all you have to do. I mean, again, it was the decorating of the paper that made it look so fabulous. For the rest of the tutorial, continue to the next video. See you there.